Alright, now it's time for Where the Big Boys Play. Hello and welcome to our review of AEW All Out 2023, coming 1 week after All In Wembley. We have the Chicago pay-per-view. All Out historically has been a major event for AEW, but this year it was in a very unique circumstance. Having to come not only 1 week after the 81,000 Stadium show that you went to, which we can see, well, you can see, you fans, viewers, subscribers can see on the channel. We did a review of that, but also it had to come after the firing of the highest merch seller in the whole company. Objectively speaking, on paper, when you look at the numbers, the biggest star in AEW, the biggest draw, CM Punk, was fired for the altercation at the All In show that he had with Jack Perry, along with other things that built up to it in the year prior, such as Brawl Out, such as some of the backstage politics, some of the messing around with the dirt sheets and all that bullshit. Yeah, lots of nasty, yucky stuff. And really unfortunate given not only business-wise what an asset he is to AEW, but also as a talent, the kind of things that he can do with the product. So when you go into this card with something advertised as it was, with the matches looking very, very peculiar in their shape, and without their biggest star on the show, and without some of their biggest, like Chris Jericho wasn't on the show either, you got a card that doesn't have a world title match on it. A lot of people, a bit like Payback, but arguably even more so because of the circumstances, were going into the show thinking this looks a bit pear-shaped, and I was one of them. I was really concerned about this show, and safe to say, I don't know what the fuck I was worried about, because I don't know about you, but I fucking loved the shit out of this pay-per-view. I thought it was so much fun. Never doubt AEW.
This pay-per-view was great.
Yep. This was one of the best pay-per-views of the year, which is insane because it came right after literally 7 days ago when they also had one of the best pay-per-views of the year at All In. This was absolutely incredible. And it featured a lot of mid-card talent. In terms of the booking on TV, it featured a lot of talent that aren't considered main event. But what I fucking loved about this show was it treated those talent as if they were main events. And I really think for a show where you had a roster that was pissed off and fired up about what had happened to their company in the last week after they had just had their biggest show ever, and all anyone could talk about was the backstage fight. And also not only that, but also with all the discourse around the build-up to this show and how people were saying, oh, this is going to be shit, this is going to be the worst AEW show because they clearly don't have the gas left to give a pay-per-view worth watching after All In. No, we were all wrong. AEW delivered on this show, and delivered in such a pleasantly surprising way. And I honestly, hats off to the locker room, hats off to Tony Khan. I am so blown away. I think there's situations where pay-per-views have surprised me in the past. WrestleMania 31 is a famous example where you had a terrible build to a really good pay-per-view. But I think this show belongs in the category of this show was so much better than everyone expected it to be. I have full confidence and faith that AEW now can, from the success of this, can carry this momentum through the future and be able to stand on its feet as a legit challenger brand without CM Punk. Which is sad, because CM Punk's one of the GOATs, and I love him as a talent. But I think this show really made a statement for AEW, and I could not be happier to say that I loved it.
Yeah. This pay-per-view was very good. It was a fucking great show. Pretty much enjoyed, pretty much every match, really. I can't think of a match where I was, on the main for it was top tier stuff. Very surprised because considering how they've delivered a really good show last week, to then put on an absolute banger of a pay-per-view just 7 days later with all the stuff that happened this week. Yeah, it was just really good shit.
So, yeah, the first thing I want to compliment about this show was the stage. In contrast to Payback had that really tacky, bland Raw set. This show went full Chicago with the staging. The stage was gorgeous. I loved the way the stage looked on this show.
Super cool design.
Big time. It felt like a big deal that they made the stage look like that.
Yeah, man, I absolutely loved how the staging looked. The design of it was just very, very cool.
Yeah. I will admit, awkward not having CM Punk there with that staging, because it looked like it was designed for him.
Well, yeah, because obviously it's very, obviously you got the Chicago Stars, like it was very much built for a, yeah, it was very cool stuff. But it's a shame, yeah.
Yeah, and I also think that because the Tony Khan announcements on Collision got a lot of heat with the crowd, which he faced bravely, and apparently Ricky Steamboat gave him a hug backstage after that, which was really nice. But I think they got a lot of the heat out the way on Collision, because once they got to All Out, I think the fans were just really into the show, and that was what they needed. The 0 Hour gave us a promo from Bryan Danielson where he referenced Bray Wyatt, where he said, "The last time I was in a strap match, it was with someone I loved, and we beat the shit out of each other." He obviously had that match in 2020 with The Fiend. That was a nice nod. He's like, "Imagine what I'm going to do to you." And of course, we'll talk about it later, but he was not lying when he said, "Well, imagine what I'm going to do to you." Because, oh boy. But no, that was a great promo. Love that. So great to have Bryan Danielson back. And this is kind of the first time, because Danielson got injured before we started this channel on Forbidden Door. Finally great that I could talk to everyone about how awesome Bryan Danielson is, which we will get to. Because he is one of the greatest of all time. He is just a sensational talent. We also had a really funny promo from the Mogul Embassy, where not only was Swerve not there, because in kayfabe he's still inside the coffin, which I think is fucking hilarious, but I also loved it because we had a over-the-budget charity battle royal, which was the one where the winner would get to donate 50,000 of Tony Khan's money to any charity they wanted. And Prince Nana of the Mogul Embassy was saying, "Oh, if we win, we will donate it to the Mogul Embassy Foundation," which obviously means themselves. Great heel heat.
Yeah.
Really funny. Real funny stuff. I also want to point out that we had the Collision commentators for a lot of this show, which was real nice. Great variety.
Yes.
I like it when you have a long night of wrestling like this, that they switch up the commentary team just to keep things fresh, which is real good. To have Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness there for a lot of it. And then we had the over-the-budget charity battle royal, which, funnily enough, both of the people we predicted to win this weren't in the match. Keith Lee and Hangman. Keith Lee and Nick Wayne.
What's really fucking annoying about it is that I actually almost went for Adam Page.
Same.
I was like, if there's going to be a royal, if someone's going to win it, it's probably get Adam Page. But like, it's probably going to be a mid-card battle royal. They're probably not going to put him on the fucking pre-show. But then they did, and he fucking won it. And I got fucking so pissed off myself because I would have picked him.
I'm the same.
When he was in the match, I would have picked him.
I'm the same. I looked at the roster. I looked at the roster, and I thought, of all the people on the roster, the most likely to win this would be Adam Page. But he's not going to be on this match, is he? But I was wrong.
No,
he actually was.
But I almost went for him anyway. It was like, I'll just go to fucking Nick Wayne. I don't know. Give him a big win on the show.
Yeah. I also want to point out that this is the return of Scorpio Sky, because he did return on Collision a month or two ago, but he got another injury. Now he's back again. So
again,
that happened on this show. Hopefully he can do something. But
let's be honest, the only thing I remember from this match, I think the only thing I remember was the great dance off between, Garcia and Daddy Ass. That shit was fucking brilliant.
That was great, and I also loved when Garcia got eliminated. He danced all the way up the ramp.
Yep.
Fucking great. And also the promo that Tony Nese cut at the start, where they said they should all be doing exercises and they beat the shit out of them. That was sports entertaining. But you know,
what I like about what they're doing, what I kind of like it with this Garcia thing, is it reminds me a lot of everything like about early Orange Cassidy in a way. So if they go about it in the right way, they really can have that same similar payoff with it.
Mm.
And obviously we'll reference it later in the main event. But yeah, it's like that you can build that up into something quite fun, and then something like quite serious.
Yeah. So
what I really did like is what's his name? Dalton Castle's like Stooges. They picked up Matt Parker, I think his name is. I can't remember. Which one is it? Or was it the wrong way around?
Parker. It's
Angelo Parker.
Yeah,
Angela Parker. They fucking get Castle. They then put him back on the apron. But then they get him, and he's like, put me back in! And they just softly put him on the floor. They don't even drop him. They just slowly put him on the floor on his feet. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. There was another really hilarious moment. So at the end of the match, the final 6, on one side you had, Action Andretti, Trent Beretta, and Adam Page, all, like quite sort of lightweight guys. You had like Toa Leona and Brian Cage, who were fucking huge. And then you had Kyle Fletcher, who tried to buff up his body to look big compared to these 2 other guys. That was great. A lot of this match had like the Ring of Honor roster and Adam Page, which kind of made it like kind of a foregone conclusion that Page would win, most likely. It was nice to see him get a win, and I actually think for his character it fits. Adam Page seems like a very charitable guy. And he gave the money to the Chicago Education Fund, which it makes sense because he used to be a teacher. He used to be a teacher, so it's very...
Yeah. It'll be really hard to boo him if he does that, Chicago.
Oh, yeah. I think I heard someone say, wouldn't it be funny if he said, screw Chicago, I'm giving it to another city's, education.
Whoever's, the main rival, just, the Chicago, hockey team or whatever.
Yeah. This was a nice feel-good match. It was a very thrown together battle royal. We're not one of the best ones they've done, but I thought it was fun enough for a pre-show match. It was acceptable.
Mm-hmm. And
a nice gesture for sure from Tony Khan to do a charity donation without being heavy-handed as well. Some of the issues I used to have with WWE, especially during the Vince era, was they were so fucking over the top with the philanthropy. They just tried really hard to be like, look guys, we are good people because we give money to good causes. Please like us. Stephanie McMahon would always be like, look at all the great work we do with Connor's Cure and the Warrior Award and Be a Star and Make a Wish, and it's like, Jesus Christ, just calm down. Charity's good, but just you don't need to go all the way with it.
You don't have to prop yourselves up for it. It's not really
just let people realize for themselves that it was enough having the commentators say this is Tony Khan's money. That's all you need to say, because then it gets the message across what's happening. And I thought this was a fun match, and I think it was nice to. I think they're gonna do like a rehab for Adam Page now, because he's outside of the Moxley feud at the start of the year with the Revolution match, which was really great. A lot of Adam Page's run after he's lost the belt has been very background, but ever since they turned the Dark Order heel, and now that they put him in this battle royal, I think, and also apparently on Dynamite he's going to have a promo, which is really exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing Hangman get some opportunities as a singles wrestler again, because I think it's time.
Agreed.
Especially after Mr. Phil has left the company, I think Page can blossom without that tyrant above him. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think CM Punk did say he wanted to make amends with the Elite, and he did apologize to Paige after he did that shoot on him, not selling toys in Walmart or whatever it was. Hopefully they can give Hangman Page a good push, and he will start selling more toys in Walmart. You know, he's got to feed his kid.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. I think on a show where they are really trying to make AEW have that sort of old AEW feel to it, like that original spirit, Adam Page kind of exemplifies that as a whole. He's kind of, a lot of people would say from like the start of AEW up till the end of 2021, he was kind of like the main character of AEW up until he won the title. And that was ever since he won the title, he kind of lost that after the Danielson feud. That was kind of the last time he felt prominent. You know, part of that was probably because of Kenny having all that time off. Didn't exactly help matters.
No.
But yeah, I'm keen to see Paige get more of a spotlight again, because I feel like it's been a long time.
Has been quite a while.
Yeah. So yeah, nice stuff. And then we had the 6-woman tag team match. This was a replacement for an Athena singles match for the ROH Women's title, because I believe Billie Starkz is still injured. But what they did, I haven't been watching much Ring of Honor, but what they did here was, is it me, or did it feel like Billie Starkz was kind of like the Sami Zayn in the Bloodline equivalent to the heel team here? Because she came out with the heels, but they weren't like wanting her to follow them. Did you notice that?
No, I did not actually.
Yeah, I Billie Starkz seems to like, she wants to fit in with the heel girls, but they don't like her. It kind of reminded me of like the early Bloodline stuff with Sami Zayn a little bit. Maybe not quite as focused, but it gave me sort of a similar energy to it. Also, the fact of this is Sky Blue's hometown, Chicago, so she got, you know, sort of like the homecoming entrance of the big sort of the Chicago attire. I guess she's making up for the lack of CM Punk Chicago attire on this show. So instead, she's now the hometown hero. Yeah, I think this might have been the weakest match of the night. I don't have much to say about this match. It wasn't bad, but I thought it was just okay.
I'd probably say so.
Felt like it was carrying on a lot of storylines they've been doing on like Collision and Ring of Honor. You know, because they've been establishing Mercedes and Diamante as a tag team. But weirdly enough, the heels didn't win this match. It was actually the babyfaces which went against our prediction.
It was the babyfaces.
It's possible that they may have done this because after the match, very clearly Athena was frustrated. So we may end up seeing, well, that is if anyone watches Ring of Honor, but it may be setting up some of those babyface women in the challenger role for the title, but who knows. I think they might just be holding off until Billie Starkz gets healed from an injury. But yeah, this was definitely a very thrown together match, and it was fine. Though definitely a big step down for Hikaru Shida after she just lost her world title 1 week ago.
Yeah, on the pre-show.
Yeah, not the best.
Not really think I would pick her to just be on the pre-show.
And it's interesting because the actual Women's World title champion wasn't in a match either. I mean, she was there at ringside, but she wasn't wrestling. And then we moved to the, I guess you could say, oh, actually no, before the main event of the pre-show, we had the third chapter in the Los Faction Ignoble, how you say it, Rush's faction. They've been building this up on Collision. And we had the clip of Preston Vance and Dralistico being brought to Rush. I would imagine that they probably, if I were to hazard a guess, I would imagine they're probably going to feud with the Acclaimed with the trios titles. That wouldn't surprise me. I'm also very interested to see what they do with Andrade, because Andrade hasn't been seen since he got his mask back from Buddy Matthews.
No, he hasn't.
I'm curious to see if they have Andrade factored into this storyline at all, because he used to be part of this faction. But the curious part is that Andrade is now a babyface, whereas this faction is still heel. So maybe at some point we might see him feud with Andrade, with Rush. I think that could be a really good match, actually. But yeah. Curious.
Yeah, that is a very much a possibility.
Yeah. And also Roosh is he's fantastic. Exceptional wrestler. So, very keen to see how he does. What I assume he's going to be on Collision for most of his run. The only thing I will say is, at the end of this video package, the facial expressions from Jose and Preston Vance were not the best. They were quite fake in terms of the acting.
Yeah, very fake.
Yeah.
Also shot it in like the same position.
Yeah.
Like if you notice,
cheap.
like it's just very strange.
Yeah. And then of course we had Team TNA, Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh, along with Sanjay Dutt and Karen Jarrett, versus the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn for the trios titles. The heel team got like that special basketball entrance, but they did a swerve where Satnam Singh just squashed the basketball in his hands. This reminded me a bit of the Great Khali versus Batista feud, actually. And then Batista said that basketballs don't hold grudges, which was one of the funniest, weirdest lines in a promo. Yeah, again, Jeff Jarrett has this ability to do exactly the same thing in every match and still get heat. He has quite a this weird magic spell that he does, but it works for him, and he has done basically the same thing since the early 90s, except I think what's made it better now is he's a lot more self-aware, and he's almost like a parody of himself now rather than doing it unironically, which makes it a lot more funny. And as always, Sanjay Dutt is exceptionally annoying and hilarious. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. And with Dennis Rodman, of all people, who popped up on Collision before this.
Yes, it did.
So there was a botch in this match. Dennis Rodman used the guitar and then didn't get out of the ring, and the referee looked right at him and did not disqualify the Acclaimed.
No, even though there was debris everywhere.
Yep, it was it made Aubrey Edler's look very stupid.
And that's my big issue with the refs in AEW, personified in one moment.
Yep. And to be fair, on this one, it wasn't even the ref's fault, because it was Dennis Rodman's fault. I guess they just don't want to have the referees do a shoot finish in on this show.
No.
It was kind
like he's just standing there pointing at the crowd with the guitar in his hand, and she's just like, "What's going on?
Yeah.
What happened?"
I imagine if Jim Cornette watched this match, he had a fucking aneurysm seeing how fake it made wrestling look. Yeah, this was all right. I think this match was more fun for the characters involved rather than the actual wrestling itself.
Mm-hmm.
They did a nice little swerve where they brought out Paul Turner, I believe it was, and then they said, actually, we've got our own ref, and it was Aubrey Edwards, who's been feuding with Karen Jarrett. But yeah, this was definitely a very filler match. This could have been on TV. You know, this felt like something that belonged on like Rampage. And yeah, it was all right, I guess, outside of the Dennis Rodman shit. But yeah, that was the 0 hour. And now we move on to the main card, which is when the business really picks up. Is when we actually get into the proper stuff. We have Better Than You Baby, which is Adam Cole and MJF, the world champion. And they are the ROH tag team champions as of last week. Against the Dark Order of Alex Reynolds and John Silver, who have recently turned heel. And a lot of their stuff on Being the Elite has been being very heelish, which is real interesting because a couple of years ago, they were the baby faces and the Elite were the heels. So they've reversed their roles now. And I fucking love heel Dark Order. I think they are so funny. I think the skit on Being the Elite where Matt Jackson accidentally sold the right to the name Hung Bucks to them for $1,000 is so funny. And the fact that John Silver says, and Alex Reynolds said, "We own your dicks now, every inch of them." And then you have Kenny Omega saying, "How am I gonna, take my cat to college?" It's good stuff. Anyway, Better Than You Baby versus the Dark Order. This was fun. They definitely played up the MJF neck injury because he got taken out for a lot of this match, and then he came back and he did like the cliche babyface push everyone out the way. He did basically the Mankind Hell in a Cell 1998.
Well, there was a lot of really good stuff. I've got a lot of notes for this one. MJF dancing to the double clothesline chant at the start of the match was very funny.
Yeah,
and even before the match, he had a bit of some beer before the match. So this man was intoxicated during this match, just letting everyone know.
Yes, and people might be confused, because that was written down as being against the rules, but it has been revealed that the guy that handed him a beer was someone who booked him on the Indies before AEW, so they know each other, so it got approved, I imagine.
That's cool. That's fun.
Yeah.
He also had number 23s in reference to Michael Jordan, which is quite fun.
Yeah, Chicago Bulls.
Very big egos. Yeah, the crowd was hot for this as well. Big opener. The crowd was into this.
MJF and Adam, now that the bloodline has ceased to be good, they are basically the hottest act in wrestling at the moment, especially after All In.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so much fun, and it was so interesting to see the Dark Order as heels and MJF as a babyface. It's like we're in fucking reverse world right now. But it was something I never expected to see, but I'm glad I did. And I love the fact that when MJF got taken out, Adam Cole had to wrestle a handicap match, and it was still really fun.
There was a very funny single clothesline chant after that, which is that was quite funny from the crowd. What I really liked about it, it gave John Silver a lot of time because he was great in the ring. There were some really good strikes, and he had a really, really great small package suplex, which was quite cool.
Yeah,
I really liked that. He was great. He was great in the ring.
I also love the heat where the ref wasn't looking and Alex Reynolds whacked MJF in the neck, which they have history because Alex Reynolds was one of the guys who trained MJF.
Yeah, well, he referenced it in the match. It's like sportsmanship, and then just pokes him in the eye and celebrates. It was quite funny.
Just smiles at the camera for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
God, MJF's the best.
Yeah, it's really good shit.
This is what I love about AEW, is they do these unique things you'd never expect, because you've been conditioned into expecting so many standard things, and then they just do all these weird creative ideas. You have the world champion in an opening tag team comedy match. It's so interesting.
Even when Max came back, you got Max that came back later in the match, and he got the big hot tag, hit some really good body slams, and then did a double eye poke, which was very funny.
Yep.
Again, just really good shit.
I also love how Aussie Open aren't even feuding with them anymore, and the kangaroo kick is still over.
Yeah, it's just part of his move now. There was a really good spot where Alex was really dizzy after a move, and Silver was on the floor, and then after it reminded me a lot of the Triple H spot from Raw all those years ago, in a tag match. But once he recovered, Max just drove him headfirst into John Silver's privates, which was very funny. Really good shit.
Adam Cole has history with these two guys, not only on screen, but on being the Elite from 2 years ago. So that also added a dimension to it. I also have to say, I love how Evil Uno, now that they're heels, is wearing a fucking red Godfather tuxedo. It looks so weird on him, because he's the most unserious wrestler ever. But he's dressed like a mob boss.
This is a really fun, match. Cole super kicks Evil Uno. He tags in. They hit the double clothesline for the win, and it got very great reaction.
Yeah, this was such a great opener. Just a fun.
I really liked this match. I really liked it.
A fun, feel-good opening match to start the pay-per-view with, just a match that makes you smile. And I feel like this match really was in the spirit of, the original AEW, if you get what I mean. Even though obviously Adam Cole wasn't part of that, in terms of this felt like the kind of thing that AEW was made for. This is kind of the vision that the Elite had for a lot of AEW, was these kind of matches that you wouldn't see elsewhere, and it's just so fun. I have always loved John Silver and Alex Reynolds as a fun sort of mid-card tag team act, and they just add something to the roster that is different and is valuable. I also, from a storytelling perspective, really like the fact that now that they've turned heel again, you have the commentators mentioning that they've reinvigorated that aggression that Brody Lee taught them when they were heel with Brody Lee, which is a nice touch. But yeah, this was so fun. And then, at the end of the match, after they won, they recreated the spot from NXT TakeOver with MJF and Samoa Joe, where Joe had his entrance and he pushed MJF out the way and smiled to himself. And then they had a massive brawl in the ring, which had a front face lock. And I am curious, do you think that they were doing a little cheeky nod to the CM Punk Jack Perry fight? Because I think I saw some people saying that.
Very possible. Very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this, in terms of a segment, this was my favorite segment of the night, just because, what a great reference to NXT when Joe was champion and Max was just a little old security guard and he got pushed. Yeah, that was really good. Really cool.
It was so unique. Like these are the outside the box things on wrestling shows you don't usually see. And it just takes that
because because it goes naturally into the next match because of that.
And these are like the little bits of creativity that you can drop into a show that just add that little special something to it. You know, and that's what you get when you put together minds of people who have these really cool ideas to surprise the audience and add a story on. I mean, the idea that we're possibly now going to get a feud with Samoa Joe and MJF, I'm all for. That could be so fun. And there's a built-in story there, which was set up by the WWE unintentionally. But yeah, I really liked this a lot, actually. That sort of setup. And now that he's had that fight with Joe and let his anger get to him, his neck is even more damaged. And of course, I also like the little detail of Adam Cole has history with Samoa Joe in NXT. So he knew not to get involved physically because he knew the kind of damage that Joe could do to him. So yeah, this was great stuff.
Yeah, but this is similarly the next feud, I guess.
Oh yeah, this is fucking brilliant stuff.
So they're probably going to do some stuff with obviously like Strong these next couple of weeks, and then it feels like Full Gear will get MJF Samoa Joe, which would actually be quite cool.
Also, Samoa Joe is just, when it comes to like facial expressions and body language, he's one of the goats.
He's one of the best to do it, yeah.
That dude has so much fucking cocky arrogance, and I love it.
That's why I love the Punk match so much from his perspective, his sort of reactions in like being with the crowd who were very much anti-Punk, and his sort of charisma playing through that was what made the match so good, really.
Also, we might see a promo segment between MJF and Samoa Joe, which would be absolutely brilliant. Because those two are incredible on the microphone. Samoa Joe he's had a hell of a career. He's still going and he's still great. After 20, 25 years? I mean, he may not be like the agile athlete he was in his 20s, but as a character, he just gets better and better and better with age. He just has this I do not give a fuck attitude to him that makes him instantly watchable. Like, every time he's on screen, he's so captivating. Of course, that then led into the match he had with Shane Taylor, which is based on the history, the fact that Shane Taylor was, before Joe, the most dominant television champion in Ring of Honor, which was a match that a lot of people said, why is this on the pay-per-view? I still think on paper it's a weird choice to have on All Out, but I thought this was alright. It was a sort of a fun mashup of big boys.
Yes, it felt like a prelude to the later meat match. Because right. I put down notes like big heavyweight blows, big meaty match, hitting some really meaty chops to each other. Joe obviously hit the great elbow dive he normally does, fucking so smooth. There was a really good hanging stunner from Taylor as well when Joe was on the ropes, which I thought was quite cool, really nicely done. Yeah, but then I thought this was a very fun meat match.
So Shane Taylor had like the thickest, shiniest fighter shorts I've ever seen. They were like
He
bright
did,
silver.
yeah, very much.
But yeah, this was like
very, very thick.
This match was short, and it was like two buses heading each other, really.
Yeah, it was about 7 minutes. It was a nice, I think it was a decent match.
Decent.
Like Joe hits like crazy amount of knees, and then just puts him in the clutch, and just he taps out.
It's one of those matches like where instead of it being like a technique clothesline where they fold down with your arm, Joe just like whacks him with a lariat, and then 1 second later he flops down. It's like one of those kind of matches where every move is like slightly like delayed reactions because they're just so big. But yeah, it was fun. Again, I still think it is weird that it happened on this card, but the fact that it gave us that transition between the first and the second match was really like cool. I thought that was quite neat the way they did that. And you can really chalk it. I mean, if you really want to go into the nitty gritty of the reasoning why you could justify this in kayfabe, is that this card had so many matches on it that they didn't have time to do a transition between them, and they wanted to get things rolling. Now we move on to this match. This was good. This was so good.
This was very big boy versus little boy.
Oh yeah, match. David versus Goliath.
Classic. I've very much a classic.
But also with
there was just great stuff in this match. There's a lot of really good stuff.
With that little fucking demon in the corner, Christian Cage as well, looming over the match.
How's everyone's father doing?
Oh my god!
I love how he's playing into it now, because it's pretty much like, at first it was just like him being a scumbag, and now it's become a meme, and now he's playing into it. And the question he got about Adam Copeland was so fucking good.
He's like, I don't have friends.
Great.
I only care about myself and Luchasaurus. That's it. I don't have friends.
If Adam does actually go to AEW, that was
and you give
fun for a year.
And with like the kind of creative freedom they're allowed to have in AEW, just the stuff they'd be able to come up with. It would be those two guys are so funny together, and
there was like the start from it was really good. Yeah, Darby like trying to start out really strong, but once they got to the outside, Luchasaurus just absolutely demolished him, crushed him with the steel steps, and started walking up it. That's what was amazing. I loved that. Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah, I think they have done that once before with Darby, but it always works. Especially given how fucking huge this guy is. Luchasaurus is massive, and he just like walks up the steps. You've also got Nick Wayne in the side of this match as well, which again, like his dynamic with Christian Cage, the feud of like, well, your father is dead. Now let's talk about your mother, like that sort of thing. But
yeah, Darby got busted open very early as well.
Oh yeah, and I just love the whole thing. Like he wheelbarrows Darby into the steps, just smacks his head on it. Like it's that sort of thing. Like I know that like Darby Allin is popular, but when people say like who are the best in-ring workers in wrestling, people will bring up all sorts of names. I feel like Darby Allin genuinely belongs in that group. He is one of the best in-ring workers in the world. I think his matches are so consistently great on every show. He is such a... He's insane, and he takes so much fucking punishment, and I feel bad for his body, but he's so good at selling. That is one of the integral parts of being able to make a story happen in wrestling, is selling, and Darby Allin, I think, is one of the best sellers in all of wrestling. And in this match, he was absolutely exceptional. I loved it. Genuinely, I loved this match so much.
There was a really great swanton dive from Darby while Luchasaurus was on a chair on the outside. That looked fucking gnarly. That was really cool.
Yeah.
There was a great reversal after he was in a backbreaker into a crucifix pin, which was that was also very cool. Very good stuff there. Like, he hit a crazy German suplex on Darby where it looked like absolute death. He just looked like he absolutely destroyed him. Yeah.
Yep, and they were like
really cool.
Ripping the bandage, because obviously the story going in is at All In. He did the coffin drop on the coffin, and that hurt the discs in his back. And Luchasaurus like ripped the bandages off him, Kind of ironic, given that like the whole feud between Nakamura and Rollins for Payback was about the back, but they actually did more of the stuff with the back in this match than they did in that one. But of course, as the thing is with AEW is they have more opportunity for like the more violent presentation, and Darby Allin is one of those guys who will just do anything in the ring, and sometimes almost suicidal to the point of like danger, but it's his choice. But yeah, I thought this match the selling was just exceptional. I also think that Luchasaurus doesn't ever really get the credit he deserves as an in-ring performer. I think probably because of the dinosaur gimmick, it kind of hinders him as like a big match talent. But I think he's actually really, really great as a wrestler. Darby Allin just has this magic ability when it comes to wrestling with big guys. It's just this perfect, in My GM, how it's like compatible Pokemon or whatever.
Yeah.
Darby Allin and Luchasaurus were compatible Pokemon. Their chemistry was exactly what it needed to be. And then on top of that, you also have the looming undercurrent of, even though the story setup was terrible, but you do have an undercurrent of Nick Wayne and Darby Allin having disagreements about AR Fox, which does add something to their characters. And after the end of the match, Darby Allin sold the end of the match like he died. He was just
really
corpse,
good shit.
Absolute corpse lying there with his eyes barely open.
Yeah, the finish of the match was, I believe, Darby was on the top rope. Nick Wayne was being taunted by Christian to throw in the towel at one point, and then after that, like, he was getting threatened to get concertoed, and Darby hesitated. After he went for it, Luchasaurus just hit 2 tombstones, fucking threw him in the ropes, lariat, and that was it. Fucking great finish, I thought.
Oh yeah,
really brutal finish.
I loved it how he hit the tombstone and then he stepped back up. That was crazy.
That was really good.
Yeah, this was just a fucking brutal massacre, really. Like it was,
yeah, really good match.
They, in terms of like getting heat on Christian Cage, it did its job brilliantly. Having sympathy for Darby.
No one likes Christian Cage.
Yep. He's kind of now that MJF has turned babyface, he's kind of taken the always in character heel spot in the company now.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's really good shit.
They are definitely doing a great job at rehabilitating the TNT title. I think Collision has helped a lot with that in terms of the TV time. And I loved it in the press scrum how Christian Cage says, this is so good now, I think I'll rename it the TNT World Championship when I'm done with it. I was very impressed with this match. I thought it was exceptional.
Good shit.
Yep. And then, just when you thought, wow, what could they do next? We get Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs, which was also
known as for the Heavy Meat Championship, as the crowd seemed to be very much keen to let us know.
Yes, the all-e-meat wrestling.
We'll say the promo package for this match was really good. I really liked it a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've let go of my book a long time ago, and I have, what was it? I can't remember exactly what he said, but he's like, "You pray to me now." Fucking great. I love Miro.
Really good. Really good.
But this was big meaty men slapping meat, and the crowd was hot, white fucking hot for this match. They were so good. This was just like last year with the Acclaimed versus Swerve in Our Glory, where the crowd carried the match on its back, and the wrestlers basically used that crowd energy to create the story in the match, and it was so fun. I had a great time with this match. Loved pretty much everything about it. These are two guys that were held off TV for a while when the roster was getting a bit crowded, and ever since Collision has come along, they've been built up again and given a story. And then just that additional touch of the crowd doing the meat chants. Every time they slapped each other, they chanted meat, meat, meat. And it's so fun.
What I really liked, because I jotted down in my notes, like there was just a bunch of meat, great back and forth, meat. Crowd loves this. Miro with a meat kick, Hobbs hit a meat slam.
Yeah.
That's all it fucking was. It was just fucking hit each other with their meat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking great.
I also loved how at the start of the match, the commentators were basically doing especially Nigel and I think it was it Taz or Schiavone? I can't remember which one was on for this match. But they were basically doing like Vince McMahon in the 90s, where when he was on commentary, it was just like, look at the granite on these guys' shoulders. The strength, this big, yeah. Like, it was just the way that they were just constantly, they were obsessively talking about the physiques on these two very large individuals. Yeah, I think it was interesting putting this match after the last match, because the last match was two polar opposites with Luchasaurus and Darby Allin, whereas this match was two equals clashing together.
Yes.
And of course, in the end, Experience won and Miro got the win, and he has won Meat Mania. I'm so happy about this because I feel like that the crowd interaction from this match is just gonna encourage people to get like more into both these guys' matches going forward when they appear back on TV.
It felt very much they were like, it wasn't just a putting themselves over, trying being funny stuff. It very much was like an investment in the match itself with everything they did.
Yeah.
Like there was a really good spine buster with a really great crowd reaction.
Yeah.
You know.
And
yeah, it was really good shit.
They also, Miro did the spine buster and Hobbs did the game over as well. They stole each other's finishers.
Yeah. Look, Miro goes like he hit the spine buster, then put in the game over, which then Hobbs tapped out to. It was just a really great finish to a fucking absolute slugfest. Really good shit. If you haven't watched this match, go and fucking watch it. It's a really good match.
Yep. And watch the match that came right before it as well. And pretty much the whole show, to be honest. I also like to point out that these two guys have awesome entrances. Both of them. Yes.
Dude, when fucking the lighting on like Miro makes him so much look like Kratos from God of War. It's like fucking insane.
And I love it how in Hobbs' entrance the camera is behind his back and he walks through the steam. And it's like powerhouse. It's like
both of these guys got really cool entrances in the themes that makes them feel like it's what they look like is like what is represented in their like presentation. It's just really good shit.
I mean, for anyone who plays video games, this is kind of like if two boss monsters met each other in the ring.
Well, yeah, it's like I said, it's like Miro is Kratos and like Hobbs is just like another like massive Greek god. That's what it feels like to me. It's really cool. Yeah, and then at the end once the match finished, Hobbs actually was going to show respect, and I was actually wondering if this was like they were going to go with this, but no, he attacks him from behind. They did the whole "you son of a bitch" like handshake, which was really fucking very cool, very very suited for these two. But after that, fucking hot and flexible CJ Perry is in AEW.
Something that Miro has been building up for like over 2 years.
Yes.
He's referenced her, my hot and flexible wife. I thank my God for my hot and flexible life. Oh my God. And he like renounced her in storyline at the start of the Collision episodes. But she came out, and she came out to help him and hit Hobbs with the chair, and he no-sold it, and then Miro attacked him and got him down. And then what was so interesting is Miro said something along the lines of, "You're not real," and walked away.
Yeah, I've got that. Well, Miro looks at CJ but walks away. "You're not real," he says. Which is, that interested me a lot. Not just him walking away, but the specific line of, "You're not real." I'm very interested in what they see, what they're going to do going forward.
Also, just two people that Vince McMahon absolutely let slip through his fingers. Like, I can't believe.
Yeah, just their act in general. Yeah, just crazy.
Two of the most like charismatic people of the WWE at the time they were there, and fucking that Bobby Lashley feud, man. What the fuck?
Oh God.
But I'm really interested. I am very interested to see what they do with Miro and CJ if she comes back. If CJ is eventually going to be All Elite, I'm interested to see what they do with this story. I mean, what's interesting is with the whole Redeemer thing, it's almost like CJ Perry, not only obviously it's his hot and flexible wife, but it's almost like if we're talking from like a religious subtext, I could be reading too much into it, but my sort of slight interpretation here was that she was almost like his guardian angel coming in to save him, and he's rejecting the faith, if you will. I'd be very interested to see.
Yeah, that could be a way they go with it. That could be a possibility.
Very interested to see if they do something with that, where Miro has a feud with his wife.
Not again.
But they actually do a good one this time. You know, that's actually sensible. Because these two people are very talented. Very good actors, I will say, both of them. And based on the interview backstage, CJ does not have the fake Lana accent anymore.
Yes, thank God.
The Bulgarian brute. Yeah, I had a great time with this match. I think everyone did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'd be hard to find someone who didn't.
I was thoroughly entertained. Then after this, we have the TBS Championship match with Chris Statlander and Ruby Soho. A match that I would
also known as the Soraya Distraction match.
Yes.
God, I have a lot of notes on her.
Yeah. She was there, the AEW Women's World Champion. So this kind of serves two purposes. Obviously, Statlander is the TBS champion, so her having a title match on pay-per-view makes sense. But also, the Outcast storyline is starting. The Outcast as a faction is starting to crumble now after All In.
Yes.
And we kind of got the other half of the story here, because in All In, it was all about Tony Storm and Soraya, and this time it was about Ruby Soho's end of it, which is a nice way.
What I liked a lot with commentary, they really put over the fact that, you know, Chris has never beaten Ruby before, and this is their third match together.
Yep.
They really put over the fact that Ruby had a really good chance of beating her, which I really did appreciate.
But also, whenever something is actually on the line, because they've also in video packages hyped that Ruby Soho in her whole career, in 13 years of wrestling, has never won a championship, which is absolutely
I did note
insane.
down, I did note down that Ruby came out to her old theme, and I put down if only Taz was on commentary.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, there was a really big pop for Chris Statlander though, that people really fucking like Chris.
Oh yeah, she came out as I can't remember the character's name, but it's Ben Stiller's character from Zoolander.
Yeah, Zoolander reference there. They referenced that on the commentary.
And not only that,
there was a lovely little kick-up sequence at the start of the match from Chris, which was quite fun.
Yeah, and not only that, on X, also known as Twitter, Ben Stiller actually responded to her. He saw her dress up, and he responded to her with like the line from the film. That was cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's funny because I've recently just on Instagram watched an old clip of his episode from Friends. He was only in one episode, but he's like one of the most memorable characters. Like, just great. Ben Stiller is great. Very fun guy.
And this is something that I always love about big Statlander matches, is she's one of the strongest women in AEW. The muscle in her legs is absolutely ridiculous. The way she's able to just power around any woman, basically, is awesome.
She's just got a great look. She really does. Yeah,
with like the tattoos and the sort of almost warrior-esque like outfit, and the blue hair and the face paint and even the knee braces, which are there because of injury, they make her look even more badass. Like she's battle hardened. I feel like she's one of those wrestlers where over the course of AEW, she's slowly added more to her look, and she's just gotten better and better.
Well, yeah, she's a wrestler / character who's like very subtly, even without really getting in like anything like big constantly, who's just slowly developed out of her original character to something like evolved. You know, and this is sort of like the peak of it.
And also her dynamic with the best friends has definitely helped her get over as well as a babyface.
Yes.
Yeah. And great to see Statlander get a big match on pay-per-view again. And like always when it comes to the big matches, when something's on the line, Soho is always the bridesmaid. But this time, it wasn't necessarily her fault, although, unfortunately, there was a bit of a botch in this match. because when Toni Storm came out from under the ring, she went the wrong way and had to run all the way back around.
I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, she went the wrong way and had to go all the way back around, which made the timing feel a bit weird, which is unfortunate. Because the spot they did where she took the Outcast spray was cool, and it was fitting of like their whole gimmick. But the fact that she ran the wrong way and had to run all the way past the referee and pretend like the referee didn't see her was a bit silly. But it was just it was basically a mistake that they made, where she didn't know if she was going north or south. But in terms of character, I think we are definitely going to see a breakdown of the Outcasts as a faction due to the last match with them and this one. And Toni Storm is absolutely killing it with her Marilyn Monroe character.
It's like, it reminds me of like, it's a good Harley Quinn archetype. There's a lot of that in modern media, like especially these last like 5-6 years of like characters trying to really recreate the insanity of Harley Quinn from like comics and old animated shows. It feels like this is a great blend of like you said, Marilyn Monroe / insanity, like her absolutely losing her fucking mind, which is quite fun. She's really doing a really fun job, really good job with this.
Yeah, and yeah, she's just again talking about another star who's just such a good actor, if you will, in the wrestling sphere. I mean, I imagine being I think she's married. I think being married to Juice Robinson probably helps, because that guy is very charismatic.
Yeah, and insane.
yeah. But yeah, would you like to talk about Saraya, seeing as you wrote notes about her?
Yeah, so Saraya did a lot of fucking yelling. She was yelling a whole fucking bunch. She was some cheap shots from Saraya. She yelled at the cameraman at one point for being like near her and like in the way, which is like very funny, to be fair. Yeah, but she was like yelling at the ref a lot. You know, you could very much hear her throughout the match. He was It started out really funny, then it a little bit got on my nerves by the end of the match.
Her pants also. She was wearing those like disgusting grandma leopard print pants.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, but the match itself was really good. I really liked this match, to be honest.
Yeah.
There was a really nice power slam from the top rope. That was fucking awesome. Really cool. Oh, yeah. Nice poison rana from Ruby, which was quite neat. Quite neat to see.
I would love to see another match with... I don't know, I can't remember if they've wrestled before. I'm sure they have. But I'd love to see like a big pay-per-view match with Statlander and Jamie Hayter, because they're both very powerful. I'd really like to see what they can do. Yes. Oh, imagine a match with Chris Statlander and like Rhea Ripley. That would be bonkers. Bonkers good. More women's matches like this on your shows, Tony Khan. It is your responsibility to uphold this standard, because some of these women's wrestlers on AEW are so good and they deserve more time on TV. I mean, they usually do get it right when it comes to the pay-per-views, though, I will say. Maybe not in terms of match number, but in terms of featuring the right matches, they definitely do that well. So yeah, this is good. And then we move on to, for me, what was not only the match of the night, but I honestly think this might be one of my favorite matches of this year. It was a match that was not even supposed to happen, because CM Punk was supposed to be in it and he got fired. And he was replaced by the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, which was a nice twist on Collision. Yeah. He's got the same nickname as Ricky Steamboat. We had the strap match between an injured Bryan Danielson versus Ricky Starks. I fucking loved the absolute shit out of this match. Every single second of it. From the final countdown entrance to Ricky Starks' entrance with the pyro, with Steamboat being involved on commentary with his sort of hesitance, the comments, the violence, the bloodbath, the absolute one-sided domination from Starks to Danielson, and then the inverse of that, the facial expressions, the fact that Danielson couldn't strike with his right arm because of the broken arm he got at Forbidden Door, and best of all, the finish, where Danielson wrapped the strap around his neck in the label lock and choked him out. was like
that was a great visual. It really was. Like, Ricky's had a lot over the last like year. He's had a lot of these like star-making performances.
Yep.
You know, in promos and in matches. He is obviously someone this week who's had the short end of the stick, unfortunately, with the whole Punk situation. He was going to probably main event this show with Punk, and it would have been a really good fucking match. But this match was incredibly good and a great star-making match for Ricky.
You can tell he was pissed that Punk got fired, but the promo he cut on Collision the day before this show was awesome, and this match fucking ruled. I think this might actually be the best Ricky Starks match I've ever seen. This was so good. This was a 5-star strap match. I actually think this might be one of the best strap matches I've ever seen as well. And it's
really brutal stuff.
And you know, it was so great to hear on the media scrum about this match from Bryan Danielson was he revealed that Ricky Starks carried him in this match. Everyone always talks, because Bryan Danielson's one of the best of all time, but he has an injured arm and he can't do everything, and they had to do a lot of smoke and mirrors, but I didn't even notice. This was seamless.
No, I didn't notice either. Yeah.
And as a replacement, this is as good as it gets. It's great to have Danielson back. I hope his arm is healing. I hope that he can get back to full health. But I cannot emphasize how grateful I am that he decided to come in and do this match for Ricky Starks, because this was a star-making performance in losing. That ending was very reminiscent of Bret Hart versus Steve Austin from WrestleMania, when he passed out in the sharpshooter. Stark's face went purple as he was choked.
Oh, honestly, the visual of him looking down the lens, especially, is what really got me. Like, goddamn, Ricky Starks is. I want Ricky Starks to be a fucking world champion at one point.
Yeah.
This next coming year, I want him to be the world champion, because I think he is so fucking good. He's so charismatic, so great in the ring, great look, great personality. He absolutely should be pushed to the moon. He's one of the guys who absolutely, along with Bryan, should be pushed as one of the main guys on Collision. Absolutely. I fucking love Ricky Starks.
Yeah. Yeah, this past year especially for him has been very transformative.
Yeah.
And ever since they started Collision, he's become a main event player, and I love it.
Absolutely. He absolutely is someone who... much like the Acclaimed were when they were starting to get on the rise, I've been waiting for Ricky to really get his moment. You know, and I hope over this next coming year, you know, hopefully this time next All Out, you know, he's having a marquee match at All In at Wembley. You know, I want him to be a big star in this company, because I think he absolutely has the capabilities of putting the company on his back.
Yeah, I mean, they had him, you know, they had the feud with MJF last year at the end, and then they had the feud with, he beat Jericho.
Like, he was going to have a marquee match with Punk. He was going to have a marquee match with Punk on this show. Like, they have a lot of faith in Ricky, I think. I think this next year they really need to start, like, building him up for a big win at one point.
I also loved how he went over to the crowd and he like kissed that lady on the hand.
Yes, I know that down. That was fucking hilarious.
And that was really smart, because they were turning the cameras away when Bryan Danielson was getting busted open, which is a really smart bit of direction. And I loved how Starks brought his weight belt in as well. That was really
that was
clever.
good.
And Jesus Christ,
There's
man.
a nice little... Yeah, he does a nice little warm-up before the match as well. It was quite fun.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because around this time last year, there was a strap match between Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre. That was all right, but the thing is that when I watched that match, I was like, there's a lot missing from this match, and this did not feel like what the strap match was intended to be. And then you watch a match like this. They whipped the absolute shit out of each other. Not just like on the chest and the back, but Bryan Danielson was whipping him in the head. Like the side of the fucking face, or on the neck.
everywhere.
This was a fucking beating, and it was violent. Like he Stark's tying it around his neck and dragging him up the stairs with blood on his face, and he stomps his head into the steps. This was a bloodbath. It was so violent.
Yeah, busting him up early was a great move.
Yeah, and I think why this was so important for Starks is that a lot of people see him as a sort of a more of a a charismatic wrestler, more about the promos and the presentation. But what this did was it showed his violent side. It showed the actual, I'm not just a character, I am a wrestler.
He's great in the ring. He really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is akin to something like LA Knight. He has that same vein of like taking a lot from the Attitude Era of like the characters of that era and blending it with like the wrestling of now. I think Ricky more so, because I think Ricky in the ring is just incredible. I think he's so good in the ring.
Oh yeah, and I also loved it when he was like mocking the yes chant as well. That's fucking great.
That was such a good fucking spot. I loved it. Yeah. You also had Big Bill at one point coming in and wailing on Downsy, and then you had Steamboat just wailed on Big Bill. That was very fun. That was very fun.
If there was one thing, and I don't know if it was possible because of his age and because of the size of Big Bill, but if there was one thing I would have added to this match, is I would have loved to see Steamboat give Big Bill an arm drag. That would have been so funny.
That'd be fun.
But yeah. Oh man, it was...
Yeah, but like we said, the finish of this match, like he hits the knee, puts, fucking kicks his head in, then he puts the libel block in and completely chokes him. He starts to get out of it, but then gets the strap, chokes him out, and just, what an ending. What a visual that was.
And I love
just
it how...
so good.
This is not just like... And I think part of the reason character-wise why this works so well is this... It's not just the fact, like, Bryan Danielson as a whole is usually quite a brutal wrestler, right? But this is Blackpool Combat Club Bryan Danielson. This is the guy who, this guy is fucking crazy. And, man, like, just... I don't have enough great words to say about this match. It was genuinely... This is one of like my favorite matches I've seen this year. It was unbelievable, and it was my favorite match on this card.
Yeah, this was just good shit. This is really good shit.
Yeah, like I was in this room. I was in my bedroom watching this pay-per-view, and when this match came on, I was genuinely like, I was sat up. I was like jumping up and down somewhat. Like I was on the edge of my seat. I was cheering. I would have imagined being there live. Imagine if being there live to see this match. Jesus. Yeah, that was a fucking treat. Yeah, man. And what else is there really to say? This was just...
No, it's just a fucking awesome match.
This will be, I think, when people are talking about match of the year contenders, I think this will be up there. This was so good. And I think it was because I had been pleasantly surprised by quite a lot on this card. I was like, wow, this is actually delivering more than I thought. And once we got to this match, I was just like, what the fuck were we worrying about? Like, why were we concerned about this card? This show is brilliant, and we were only halfway through it.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit like, oh, is it going to fall off in the second half? But it did not. It kept going.
Really good match.
It kept going.
After this.
And
so after this match, we had Eddie and Shibata versus Blackpool Combat Club.
Yep, obviously they needed a bit of a calm down after this match. Naturally,
yeah.
I think if personally, just to make the card rounded off kind of in a way that would be perfect, I would have preferred Eddie versus Claudio in a singles match, but I can understand why they might want to save that for another show.
They're probably going to... Another show / maybe stuff a ring. I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends what they want to do.
But I still think this match was fun, and the main reason why is because Eddie Kingston and Claudio Castagnoli have such great like heat together in any segment they're in.
They do.
Just the way that they can't, like Eddie just can't keep his eyes off Claudio. He
can't stop. Anytime he gets a shot of him, he then goes to the outside and just wails on him. He just ignores the match, which kind of did in a way. It played into the finish in another sense, like because I actually thought the finish was like a really cool idea. I don't think the execution of it was like perfect. I think there was a way that probably could have made it a bit cleaner. But I like the finish of Shibata having Yuta in a chokehold, while Claudio absolutely uppercuts the shit out of Eddie, and that's the finish of the match. That I like that idea as a finishing concept. I think the execution was decent, could have been slightly a bit smoother, but I really like it.
Yeah, I love the spot where Shibata had Wheeler Yuta's legs tied up and Claudio just kept on hitting him, and then eventually he fell backwards.
He had a dual submission, which was already pretty cool, but then he gets hit, falls, and it just makes it completely more painful for Yuta, which is
Wheeler Yuta got his absolute ass kicked in this match. He got his
honestly
ass.
Yuta is just, whenever he's in a match, he's obviously like, in terms of the the group, he is sort of the fourth wheel, but he is so cool. He is very cool, and he's come leaps and bounds since he joined a year and a bit ago.
Yep,
it was really cool to see it.
I love his really ongoing I love the ongoing story with the best friends in the BCC on Dynamite. And Yuta being the guy between them, because he wasn't the best friends to start with. And he's one of those guys that built up really well over the years, and he's just such an asset to, as a young talent. And when these guys from the Blackpool Combat Club eventually retire, Yuta's going to be a single star one day, and all of this hard work.
Absolutely, he's got so much. Like he's fucking wrestling with John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and Claudio. Like, what's not to love about being in that group? Honestly, what time for him?
He's fucking tough. He's tough for a young man.
He is.
And they and obviously Eddie Kingston in any match is just charisma off the charts always. He's such a fun storyteller, and he adds so much expression to every movement, which makes everything so much more dynamic. But of course, it's the feud with Claudio. It's just so fun, and it's been going on for like 15 years. This beef. And in AEW, it's been going on for the last year, and Eddie just can't let it go. He's obsessed like an ex that got dumped and can't let it go. Yeah. He's obsessed with Claudio. And I love it how Claudio just gives him nothing but absolute disrespect and just fucking... Mm-hmm. He's just like, I'm so disappointed in you, Eddie. I'm so disappointed in everything that you represent. It's like he's talking down to him. And I kind of love how, like, with heel Claudio, like the way he feels like he is superior because he's like a premier athlete, and he's like, he is what the standard for like the kind of athlete you need to be a wrestler. Like, he's the gold standard, and he sees Eddie as like this petulant slob who holds onto grudges and can't have sportsmanship. He can't,
very toxic. Yeah,
can't hold himself together. I loved it on Dynamite when Claudio walked past him and didn't even give him any eye contact just to piss him off. And then like this whole feud is just Claudio's just like, when are you just gonna fuck off? Just go away. And Eddie just can't let it go. And like if it was a different feud elsewhere, you could see, oh, this is quite repetitive, but it's the way they tell the story that and how it's always different every time that keeps it so good. I definitely think down the line they need to do a singles match, and I think it would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, another solid match. I think on this card it gets overshadowed, but I think if this match had been on a Dynamite, it probably would get more praise.
Definitely.
But yeah, it was a good match to sort of transition after the brutal strap match. and did some good stuff with the characters. And yeah, always. And Shibata beat the absolute piss out of Wheeler Yuta as well, which was fun.
He did. He really did.
Yeah. So yeah, anything else you want to say about this one before we move on to the next match?
No, I think perfectly fine match.
Yeah. So yeah. So AEW All Out. Just when you think it couldn't hit you with another absolute slapper, we have Kenny Omega, the mad scientist of wrestling, versus Konosuke Takeshita with Don Callis.
Yes. This match was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Japanese strong style match with Kenny's sort of, athleticism, Takeshita's insane upper body strength. I loved, again, the special entrances as well. Justin Roberts, when he does the special Kenny announcement, is always fun.
Yep, it's just so fun. So just listing every single one of his accomplishments in such fun ways. It's just, yeah. And now.
And obviously, Kenny Omega has such a unique way of handling himself in the ring. Like, there's no one else in wrestling that wrestles the way he does. He adds so much flair to all his movements. Like, even the way he does like a bulldog looks so cool. But there was a spot in this match where Takeshita suplexed him on his fucking head, like on the front of his
Jesus,
temple.
that was rough. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
that hurt. That would have fucking hurt.
Ospreay calls Omega the mad scientist for a reason, and he is mad because this dude takes the most dangerous looking shit ever. And yeah, he just has no real limit, I guess. But I suppose a lot of that comes down to practice. Another detail I loved about this match also is Omega's attire was a throwback to his early days in DDT.
DDT, yeah.
Which is, where him and Takeshita started everything out, the green and orange gear. That was a great little detail, but I love this match. This was so athletic. It was violent, but it was violent in a different way to what we'd seen before on this card. Like, it wasn't like a bloodbath, but it was just strong style match with a lot of like really. I think I would call it a bone cracking match as opposed to a bloodbath, if you get what I mean. And
one thing I noticed just before the match started is when Kenny's like fist bumping a lot of people. He does go and fist bump, especially a guy with a punk shirt on. I did remember that. Yeah, just on the outside. He gave a good yeah. Don't worry.
Well, to be fair,
no, he knows. Yeah.
To be fair, Kenny Omega has stated that he doesn't actually have beef with CM Punk. Like, it was mostly to do with the Young Bucks and Hangman Adam Page. It was more like death by association in that regard. And Punk had said after Brawl Out, I don't actually have a problem with you, specifically. And Kenny was just kind of trying to be the good guy in the room and saving Larry the dog, really. And
reportedly, yeah.
Yeah. Typical Canadian, always trying to help out.
But yeah, this match was fucking awesome. This match was really cool. Dude, really good shit.
Takeshita he is so fucking good.
He's got big things happen.
I loved what they did in AEW, how before he was signed, they introduced him as a babyface, and they showed everything he can do in the ring. And then as soon as they turned him heel, he's completely changed his style. And he's just so different now. Like, he's still an athlete, but a bit like how I talked about how Miro and Hobbs is like two mirrors clashing. This is again two guys that are very similar clashing.
This is just a New Japan match. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was. And obviously you had a lot of interference from Don Callis, like when he stacked up all those chairs on Omega's chest, and then Takeshita did the somersault plancha to the floor, which looked fucking horrible. It's like a massive thud. And I think what's interesting is that what's really deceptive about both these guys is how tall they are. Both of these guys are really tall.
These guys are big. These guys are big, buff, tall guys.
Yeah, heavyweight wrestlers. Takeshita especially.
Both of them just have great looks. They both look great.
Oh, I've always said that Kenny Omega has one of the best presentations in wrestling. Like, he's so good when it comes to his presentation, his fluidity, his movement. And the cheekiness of his promos as well. Like, I love the Ospreay promo where he basically buried everything about him. He's just like, oh, but no heat. We don't have any heat. None. Whatsoever. Absolutely no heat. Nada.
Yeah. The amount of fucking... Like, I think, like, Takeshita tried to hit a German super, but Kenny lands, hits a brutal V-trigger, then a massive clothesline from Takeshita to Kenny, just fucking this awesome. Then there was a this is awesome chant, which ensues after that. So many great spots.
Yep, and Takeshita tried to do, like, the big dive, like, sort of almost like the Samoa Joe thing, but he did it off the top rope, and Kenny kneed him in the fucking back of the head, which looked absolutely disgusting. It was awful. And then of course, you know, at the finish it was kind of the counter offense and the reversals.
My favorite spot of the match was probably the blue thunder bomb from the top row. That looked insane. Dude, that was so good.
Because Kenny set him up for like a top rope one winged angel, and that got reversed. And that blue thunder bomb was fucking crazy.
Yeah, I've got like in my notes, I've got in all caps blue thunder bomb from the top rope. Wow.
That bump
got that in all caps.
The absolute just thud that Kenny took when he dropped the mat, it looked like his fucking guts would shake around. Like it was hard. Like he hit the fucking ground like a car.
Oh yeah.
A car at high speed hitting a brick wall. It was brutal. Like that's also the other thing about both these guys is the speed at which they move is so impressive. But it's not overbearing. They still tell stories. They still take time to sell. And again, this is something that, you know, the naysayers don't ever really give Kenny credit for is the selling. He's a really good storyteller, really good seller. They also called back to the screwdriver spot. That has been a running thing for ages.
Now, this was really good back and forth, like, because the result fucking shocked me, because Don tries to drive the screwdriver through into Kenny. It doesn't hit, it misses. Kenny then gets up and hits the V-trigger, but then Takeshita tries to use it. He gets spotted by the ref. Wheelbarrow German suplex for a close 3 count, which was a fucking great kick out, but then Kenny hits V-trigger. Well, he gets the V-trigger to Kenny, fucking brutalizes him, and Takeshita wins, which was fucking crazy. I had no way would I have picked Takeshita to win this match in the prediction. I thought he had no chance. What a win that is in such a great fucking match.
Obviously, not including Wrestle Kingdom, but the last 6 AEW pay-per-views, Kenny has lost. That is crazy. The last time he won a pay-per-view match in AEW was 1 year ago at All Out. Just before the Brawl.
Yeah.
That's wild. And before that was All Out 2021 against Christian Cage. That's pretty crazy. But he had time off for that one. But yeah, Takeshita won, which neither of us predicted, but that's huge for his career. Absolutely, Matt. He's
big win against Kenny Omega in a singles match.
He got
twice. He pinned him twice in a week.
Yeah, he got a fluke win at the last show, and then he got a decisive
relatively
win
clean win.
Yeah,
relatively clean. Like he attempted to cheat, but he still managed to get the upper hand.
Yeah, you can just tell Kenny wants Takeshita to be like the next guy to sort of replace him when he eventually retires. And we were talking before about Ricky Starks and like one day soon, hopefully AEW World Champion worthy. I think within the next few years, I think Takeshita could rise to that too. In ring especially, this dude is so good. He's one of the best athletes in wrestling. And especially with like Don Callis as his manager to provide the promo end of it, it's a complete package, really. So yeah, another great match. What a pleasant. I mean, I think we all knew that this match was going to be great anyway. But I think the fact that we got such a great card leading up to it, it was just like, holy shit, they're actually pulling this off on this show.
One detail I did really like is even after the 3, Kenny just slowly lifting his arm up. Just, you know, those kind of details are just, you know, quite cool, quite neat.
Yeah, I love it when they do that.
Yeah, because he hits the V trigger, he kicks out, but then he hits a exposed knee right to his fucking face and gets the win.
Yeah,
which was fucking brutal.
I didn't actually mention this on the Payback review, but Shinsuke Nakamura also did that in his match as well. Just after the end of the match, he lifted his shoulder up, just slightly.
Yeah.
Which, again, if we're talking about like a rematch for Shinsuke, that's a great thing to do to sell that story. So yeah, hats off. Oh, so good. 30 minutes, and it flew by. This was half an hour.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Can you believe this match was fucking half an hour?
Fucking crazy.
Zoomed by like it was nothing. Unbelievable match.
Zoomed by quite well.
This card was so entertaining. It honestly might be the quickest 4 hours I've seen in AEW. It was like balls to the walls action, start to finish. They did not let down. Fuck me. And then it doesn't stop here, because now we have Bullet Club Gold versus FTR and the Young Bucks, which was another excellent match.
Yeah, really fun. So, are we going to finally admit that the guns are actually really good?
Oh, I've known it for a while. I've known it. I've been a fan of them for longer than most people. I do
really
agree.
Feels like they're coming into their own now, because it's finally a thing that actually works with them, and it's actually showing off what they're good at being in this group. Yeah,
I could see the argument for the booking wise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The booking was terrible. The booking was really bad.
Yeah, I could see the argument for like putting the belts on them too early. I could see that, but as talents, no,
absolutely, yeah.
As talents, they've definitely stepped up.
This sort of run they've had is sort of like the hesitation of like, oh, putting them with Juice Robinson and Jay White, that's sort of strange. But these last like 3 months, you know, it's been like, what a great rise, what a great act this is.
I mean, yeah, you talked before
it's
about...
it's time to admit that the guns are actually good and they're doing a good job.
You talked about pairing Wheeler Yuta with, you know, John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and Claudio. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. You're pairing them with Jay White and Juice Robinson, just like the gold standard. It's... No pun intended. I also want to mention how awesome that entrance is for Bullet Club Gold.
Absolutely. It's really cool. Really cool presentation.
They started doing it with the guns during their title reign, but they've added Juice Robinson and Jay White to it now, and it's one of the coolest entrances. And
their theme is just like, so I love their theme for Bullet Club Gold. It's just, yeah.
Oh, it's the Switchblade theme from New Japan that's been carried over.
But yeah, it's so fucking cool.
Whoosh, doo, doo, doo. It sounds like a horror film.
Yeah, it does, yeah. So yeah, and then the Bucks what I heard that the Bucks' gear was the same gear they wore at All Out last year.
That is correct.
That's interesting.
Yep, and
I wonder why.
When their music, I was watching Being the Elite. When their music hit, Mac Jackson said, "Mixed, just like I like my nuts, mixed." But yeah, they wore the Brawl Out gear, and they got a very mixed reaction.
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the ones that have lost their buddy this week through firing, FTR, were their partners. Very unique, the fact that they were opponents 1 week ago and now they're partners, which honestly, this was inspired. Putting this match together, FTR and the Bucks versus Bullet Club Gold, was an inspired choice. Because
really cool spots in terms of mixing them up, and then the fact that them trying to do it with their actual teammates didn't work and cost the match was quite cool, quite neat idea.
Well, something that AEW actually is able to do really well and seemingly kind of bucks the trope with FTR and the Bucks. Can they coexist? And they did it well here. But what I loved about it was they actually didn't make any mistakes. They just got beat. They just got beaten by Bullet Club Gold because Bullet Club Gold work as like one collective unit.
Because they're a unit. They're all on the same page at all times.
Yep. And this match was so much fun. It was great.
Dude, all the stuff with like the cardboard cutouts of Jay White is fucking hilarious.
Well,
That's
Bullet
it,
Club
it's so
Gold is
fun.
one of the best things to come out of Collision, is by highlighting them in the main event. And the only thing is so weird. Jay White is from New Zealand, right? The only AEW show that's not on free TV in New Zealand is Collision. Why?
Crazy.
It doesn't make sense.
That's crazy.
He's now that CM Punk's been fired, he is the guy on the posters.
Yeah, him and Brian are like pretty much going to be the top guys on Collision. I know they're probably going to be ending the soft brand split, but in terms of just how they're going to present the show, those two are going to be like, yeah, they're going to be big on Collision. Absolutely.
I just think it's weird that when you've got a show where one of the main characters on it is from your country, surely you'd want to broadcast that, but I guess TV rights deals are a bit more complicated than I thought. But regardless, Juice Robinson, as always, is a delight. He's so funny. I will say one thing about his character. He recently punched a referee in the face and he hasn't been fined for it. That is probably something they should address at some point.
Probably.
But yeah, this was so good. I loved some of the combinations they did with the Bucks and FTR, how they were combining their finishers together, like how they did the Shadow Machine with one of the Bucks and one of FTR. That was great. Oh, and also the triple Power and Glory spot with the superplex into the splash, into the elbow drop, into the 450 splash was exceptional. Very creative stuff here, and I mean, the Bucks and FTR bring the best out of each other anyway, because they represent two very different styles, but they get the best out of both. And as a tag team, they brought that in, working together as well, not just working against each other. And yeah,
definitely.
Also, one very key detail, and this is something I love about AEW in the way that they build up their stars. Do you remember back at Double or Nothing, in the Anarchy in the Arena match, it was Wheeler Yuta who got the pin on Kenny Omega, which is, really, really good for him. And in this match, we were talking about before about Jay White's a big star. Any of the ones on the other team, if they won, would be good. This match ended with Colton Gunn pinning Cash Wheeler. Once again, focusing on getting the guys over that need to get over. Because I feel like out of the four guys on that heel team, the one that needs to be elevated the most is Colton Gunn. Because Austin Gunn...
Yeah, that's why they've been put with them, yeah.
Because Austin Gunn is the rapper, he has the promos down, right? Jay White and Juice Robinson are the biggest stars. Colton Gunn is improving, but he's the one that needs the most work out of the four of them. And by having him get the win, it can only benefit them.
Definitely going forward.
Yeah. So again, another thumbs up for this match. This ruled. This is great.
Yeah, some really cool spots. There was obviously Austin got superplex and then everyone hits a splash on them, which was quite a fun spot. Always enjoy those kind of stuff. There was a big four-way sharpshooter spot, which was always quite fun. Very Bret Hart-esque. Because I got to get one in every match FTR.
Yeah. I love it how Jay White, by beating the Young Bucks in a match, he just kind of further cementing I am everything Bullet Club is me, and the Elite is pales into comparison. There is that kind of feud between them. After they won the match, Matt Jackson was lying there frustrated because he couldn't get there in time. And Jay White just pulled the gun symbol up to his face. It was so good. I am so happy to feel represented by talent. Someone from my country is doing well. Also, another bit of fun comedy was after the match, they all celebrated by pulling their arms up, and then as soon as they let go, Austin Gunn just flopped to the ground, which was hilarious. Bucks and FTR clearly couldn't coexist enough, but I did love on commentary how Excalibur put over the fact that they didn't actually make any mistakes. They were just out wrestled, which really puts Bullet Club Gold over big time. And then we have the main event for the International Championship between...
It deservedly main event.
Yeah, between Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy in the same building that Cassidy had his first match, Revolution 2020. Funnily enough, that was also the same show that Moxley won the world title off Jericho. Another very memorable AEW pay-per-view back then. Before
and it was also Pat Cobley who he beat for the title. So a lot of really cool, links to this specific match.
Yep. But Cassidy has had one of the best title reigns of the modern era, you could argue. His international title reign has been...
Because he just has banger after banger after banger with this great story of him just getting absolutely brutalized and losing like every inch of his like energy every time. And this was pretty much the culmination of that.
And after the Penta match on Dynamite, he cut this incredible babyface promo where he was fully... The sheen came off and the real man behind the glasses came out. This passion for who he is and what he does and what AEW is all about was so incredible.
I think, the spot of the match absolutely is Cassidy putting his hands in his pocket and doing the soft kicks, which got more harder and harder and harder and harder. And it was just it was the perfect sort of visual representation of his character arc. For him being someone who isn't bothered to someone who fucking gives all the shits about, what he does.
Yeah. This has paid off like 4 years of build up because he first appeared. It was on the first episode of Dynamite. He appeared like at a cameo behind Best Friends. He was sitting in a chair and people were like, "Who is this guy?" And this has paid off like this long build up for this character, and it's all paid off in this match.
Yep.
And it's funny because 1 year ago, it was only 1 year ago. The All Atlantic title was on the 0 hour. It was Pac vs. Kip Sabian. And it was seen as very like, oh, this title doesn't really matter. And now it's the main event of a pay-per-view.
Yeah, crazy.
And they did like
really good. This match was just awesome.
They did like the big walkout at the start of the entrances, like with Moxley. It was Danielson.
Made it feel big time. Made it feel very big time match.
Yep. And obviously you had the Best Friends as well, like Statlander and Trent and Chuck behind Cassidy with him walking out. That was awesome. And it was so just the atmosphere was electric. I'm so glad that Chicago did not get tired to this very long show. They kept up all night. It's funny because we were talking about fairly recently during the SummerSlam review about how the UK and Puerto Rico and all that, or some of the overseas crowds are better than the US, with the exception of a few, and this is one of the exceptions. The Chicago crowd.
Chicago, for big events like this, they always turn up.
Yeah, well, the All Out shows, I mean, obviously the 2021 notwithstanding, because that was a pandemic show in Jacksonville, but the other All Out shows are always white hot for the crowd. They were refusing to believe that this was going to be a filler pay-per-view after All In. They were going to help play their role in enjoying the show as if it was the biggest pay-per-view of the year. This sort of underdog pay-per-view which delivered so much higher than anyone expected. And very fitting given that it was main evented by Orange Cassidy, who has done that his whole career.
Yeah. And then just to turn it to Moxley, who has, and they put this over a lot on commentary, like he is someone who this past year has really put the company on his back and tried his best to put the company forward. And I think this is a match that really represents like the appreciation that everyone has for him as a wrestler and person. Yeah, he is such a good fucking wrestler, and he's been undervalued. He was undervalued so much in WWE, and he's been given the platform to really show off like how fucking good he is as a wrestler, as a character, and just as a person.
It's insane.
He has absolutely deserved everything he's been given during his run, and this match is just this is classic big match Moxley. Let's be honest, he fucking brought it, and he wasn't even the one who bled in this match, which is fucking crazy.
That's the irony of it. It was Orange Cassidy who bled absolute buckets. It was brutal, absolutely brutal.
Because Moxley early on just absolutely floored him absolutely dominated. And then as the match went, Cassidy just started to get more and more momentum, get back into it, hit him with a bunch of orange punches, but multiple kickouts. It was, this match was just end to end for most of it, and it was so much fun, so great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the final bit of the match of just hitting him with a Death Rider, but him kicking out just so slowly, just a small roll, and everyone just losing their fucking shit because everyone loves like a 2.9 quick kick out. Everyone loves that, but that just slow kick out, just he having hardly any energy left, but it's still getting such a big reaction is awesome. And then right at the end, flipping off Moxley with all the energy he has left, and then just hits an absolute Death Rider, and Moxley wins.
Yeah, he did a high angle one right on the top of his head.
One hell of a match. Yeah, one hell of a match.
Yeah, it was awesome, and just an absolute. What I've also loved is over the last year since he won the belt, Cassidy has accumulated all these injuries, and they played that up in this match. Like Mox targeted every single injury that he could find, and just it was a fucking dogfight. And I think it was one of those. It was a great. What was great about the story they told is that Orange Cassidy went into this match almost expecting to lose because he knew that Mox was going to beat the shit out of him, but he was still going to fight anyway. He didn't care.
Well, he did everything he could. He did everything in his power to do what he can.
This championship means absolutely everything to him, and he was gonna keep going until he had nothing left. And it was just such a. I mean, Orange Cassidy was already a star a long time ago, but I think this has really cemented him as a main event talent, like a true headlining talent. It was exceptional.
Yeah.
And the fact that this belt, which at the start of its creation was seen as nothing but filler, is now on the shoulders of Jon Moxley as one of the biggest stars in the company, and it is seen as being as important as a world title, says everything you need to know about what Cassidy has done in the last year.
Honestly, like I said, the last couple minutes as I've just gone over, it's such a. I love these kind of finishes where Moxley's on top for the entire thing, but Cassidy just isn't giving up. He's just until literally everything has been put out of him. He'll kick out of a big clothesline. He'll kick out of a Death Rider. You have to really absolutely brutalize him to just put him down.
Yeah.
And it was such a great ending to the pay-per-view.
Also, I just want to say something about Tony Khan, because I think I've heard a lot of people out there give him a bit of flack as a booker and saying he's nothing more than a matchmaker and he's not a storyteller. And I don't think that's true, because you get stuff like this long-term attention to detail that he does with certain characters, and it's kind of unseen in a lot of mainstream wrestling, this kind of really, really good attention to detail and paying it off in this kind of way, and he does it in very unique ways we haven't really seen before. I think it's really unfair to say that it's all the wrestler's creativity and that Tony Khan's only just making the matches, because I feel like he has a really integral role in paying attention to detail to all of his talent, especially in the talent that he's really investing in. I think Tony Khan really deserves credit for helping in developing a lot of these stories on his show, because he's the one that's allowing it to happen. He's the one that is allowing. He might not be writing the scripts like a filmmaker or anything, but he is very involved in the creative process. And I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for the kind of knack for storytelling that he has, especially long term. And being able to, especially being able to choose the right matches with the right people at the right time on the right show. Because I think this match specifically, and honestly, this show as a whole really is the definition of an unorthodox show. But it delivers, it delivers as well, if not better, than a standard marquee show would. I mean, I fucking hats off to him. He just ran a stadium show in Wembley with 81,000 and had to lump a lot of his biggest stars on there. And he lost CM Punk, and he still managed to have this card happen. I think Tony Khan...
Also, just the ending of his pay-per-view with it just letting Cassidy have his moment with the crowd was a great way to end the broadcast.
You could see he was genuinely emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to point out I love the spot where Moxley ripped open the padding on the outside and went for a pile driver, and then Cassidy did a beach break on the concrete.
Yeah, that was fucking rough.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, so good. And I think again, a lot of naysayers who are saying, "Oh, this dude's just a comedy wrestler who's like messing around." Like, nah. The thing about Cassidy is, and it's I can say this about a lot of the really good AEW talent, is that he's a layered character. The comedy is just the surface level of it, like the sunglasses in the pockets, and you know the I'm lazy and I'm a sloth, and you know that sort of thing. That is a surface level facade for the truly motivated, passionate man he is under that. And that's what makes a character like Orange Cassidy so unique. I also want to say, I loved how he because obviously Moxley was in the Shield, right? Cassidy did a tribute to Roman Reigns. He did the orange punch, and then did the WrestleMania rope to rope spear on Moxley for a 2 count. That was a great little tribute to Roman Reigns there. Which is a nice callback because they have a connection, obviously. And so firstly, I cannot wait to see what Moxley does with the title going forward. And I think Cassidy deserves some time off, and I think when he comes back, he's going to be fucking nuclear white hot over. Because he's a star. I also want to credit the camera work for this match. Some of the direction for the story was real good. Like at the start of the match when you had that shot where it was on Moxley's head from like the low angle, and then it blurred it, and you could see Cassidy's like taped fist. That's a great bit of cinematography. And then of course at the end of the match, how it was the bird's eye view of Cassidy just lying in his own pool of blood. You know, emotional. Was just so good. This was a great way to close the show, and it was a really unique way to close the show with this title and this guy. Truly remarkable stuff. And honestly, I was already like, when we started this review, was already like going like, oh yeah, the surprise bit. But now that I've gone over all these matches again, just talking about this card, what a fucking show. What a wrestling pay-per-view this was. This was so good. It refused to be overshadowed by the Wembley show, because this show delivered. And I think this is one of the best pay-per-views of the year, for sure. This is right up there with All In and Mania Night 1. This week for AEW specifically, I mean, obviously the CM Punk thing was a massive low with him getting fired. But the 2 pay-per-views they put on, I don't even know how they do it sometimes. They really do raise the bar. They raised the bar. And like MJF said in the All In press conference, they're a bunch of misfits, they're a bunch of oddballs, but they put on the best wrestling shows you've ever seen. And I can't argue with that. Because when you go into a show like this thinking it's going to be like a mid-card pay-per-view, and it ends up being probably one of the best, most consistent AEW shows I think they've ever done, I think that says a lot about the depth of this roster. So yeah, brilliant stuff. And the momentum doesn't even end there, because in a few weeks we're going to have Grand Slam, which is a whole nother event into itself. But yeah, I was very, very impressed by this pay-per-view. Very impressed. Huge fan. The energy, the whole energy, throughout the whole time I was watching it, I was just having so much fun. This is what wrestling is all about. And I think everyone on this card, after the week they've had, wanted to make a statement. Some of these people didn't get to be on Wembley, and they had a chip on their shoulder. Some of these people were pissed off about the CM Punk bullshit and all that drama, and they were really annoyed at how people on Twitter were saying that this show was going to be dog shit, and they proved a point tonight. Not tonight, but on the card, they proved a point by just going out there and doing wall-to-wall great wrestling. So, Yeah, exceptional stuff. I'd probably say, I don't like to give ratings for wrestling, but I'd probably say this is like a 9 out of 10 show for me.
I'd say so as well.
I thought this was insanely good.
Mm-hmm.
Not only as a show, but it also set up things for like Dynamite and Collision to come as well. Also, thinking about it, if I remember correctly, if they do the 2-hour Rampage for Grand Slam like they usually do, does that mean there's going to be a week where AEW does 6 hours of television?
Seemingly so, that is the case.
That'd be crazy. Your overall thoughts on All Out 2023?
I thought it was an excellent pay-per-view with some really great matches, some great match of the year contender matches. Yeah, I just don't have any more what else to say other than they hit it out of the park, really.
This roster is, when this roster gets it right, when you give them the platform to do what they do best, this roster is just the most complete wrestling performance you can get, really. Because they just, especially with like the creative freedom and the lack of boundaries within AEW structure in terms of what they can do in the ring and on the microphone, they are able to do shows that are very special, and this was one of them. Cannot wait for Grand Slam, cannot wait for Wrestle Dream, cannot wait for Full Gear. I'm just excited to watch wrestling. It's a great time to be a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee can't wait till we get to All In next year when they come back to Wembley and seeing how much even more they've grown, how many more stars they've made, how many more matches there's been, how many storylines they've built, and fucking hell. Now is the time. Now is the time for AEW to show that they can succeed at that top level without their biggest star. You know, losing CM Punk's a big hit, but I think, based on how great this show was, I think they have the potential to do it. And as a fan, if CM Punk goes back to the Fed, it's all good anyway, because we'll still get him. Because that's the great thing about being a real fan of wrestling and not a tribalist, is you get to watch what you want to watch. Because if AEW delivers shows like this, and then CM Punk goes back to the WWE and delivers what he delivers usually, I mean, what is there to complain about? There's just really great wrestling to be had, and I feel like maybe not as transformative or as mainstream as the Monday Night Wars, but I feel like in terms of the wrestling world itself and for the real fans of it, I feel like we're in a proper boom period at the moment. Like Bryan Danielson said on the press scrum, just can't wait to see what the future holds. One more thing I have to do before we end is I have to announce that, and still, the GOA predictions champion is me, because through the compounded predictions, you scored 10.5 points and I scored 14.5 points. So I won by quite a distance.
Yeah, well, I took the risk on Nakamura, so...
Oh, you really did. And the 4-point deficit paid off for me with Samoa Joe. Not like that was in doubt anyway. And obviously I chose Bullet Club Gold, whereas you didn't, and that made a huge difference as well.
Yes. Yeah, Nakamura and FTR Young Bucks fucked me over, really. Because that would have been a 3-point swing.
I think you could have still caught up with me if you'd made a few different choices, if you'd done Rollins and
of course.
Priest and Bella and Takeshita.
Yeah.
And Bullet Club Gold and, Team Babyface Women.
Yeah, I only got 4 matches wrong.
And Adam Page. Don't forget about Adam Page.
Yeah, I could have picked Adam Page and I nearly didn't. I didn't.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, there's a lot. Oh my god, that's another thing to look forward to. Adam Page is having a promo on Dynamite. There's just so much wrestling. So much wrestling to look forward to. Oh, it never ends. So, thank you for joining. We'll see you all next time, whether that be on the main channel or the wrestling channel. Either way, we're having fun. Hope you're all having fun. It's been great. And we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.